Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of coin collecting, and you're going to want to stick around because we're talking about one of the most mysterious and valuable nickels out there. That's right, we're talking about the 1964 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel, and believe it or not, some of these coins are worth thousands and yes, even millions of dollars. Now before you go digging through your change jar or flipping couch cushions, let's break down exactly what makes this coin so special. Let's rewind the clock to 1960. For the United States was minting millions of coins, and the Jefferson nickel was no exception. In fact, over a billion of these coins were struck that year. That's billion with a BSO. You're probably wondering, how can a coin that was made in such huge numbers be rare or valuable? Here's where it gets interesting. Although 1964 nickels aren't rare by themselves, certain versions of the 1964 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel are extremely rare because of specific errors, unique conditions, and historical quirks. First, let's talk about the mint mark. In 1964, most Jefferson nickels were produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Now here's the thing, coins struck in Philadelphia traditionally had no mint mark, so when we say no mint mark, we're referring to coins minted in Philadelphia. But not every 1964 nickel without a mint mark is valuable, so what makes some of them incredibly special? It all comes down to condition, errors, and varieties. Let's talk condition first. Collectors go crazy for coins in what's called full steps condition. That means when you flip the nickel over and look at Monticello, the building on the back, you can clearly see all 5 or 6 steps leading up to it. Most nickels from 1964 were struck poorly or have worn down over time. Finding one with crisp full steps is like finding a needle in a haystack. Now combine that with a no mint mark and suddenly you've got a coin that collectors will fight over. Some of these high-grade 1964 no-mint mark nickels with full steps have sold for thousands of dollars at auction. We're talking $10,000 or more for a single coin. But here's where it gets wild. There are known error coins and unconfirmed rare varieties that could be worth way more. Some collectors and experts believe that a handful of 1964 nickels were struck using special dies meant for proof coins. If one of those ever surfaces in pristine condition, its value could easily reach into the millions. Now, let's talk about a few of the most valuable 1964 no-mint mark Jefferson nickels known to exist in 2021. A 1964 nickel with full steps in mint state 67 sold for over $32,000. That's a nickel that could buy you a brand new car. Another one graded at MS66 with full steps sold for over $15,000. And these aren't even errors, they're just coins in immaculate condition. But imagine finding one with a double die error or struck on the wrong planchet. Those coins are like the holy grail. Some experts estimate their value could be well into the six-figure range or higher depending on rarity and demand. And yes, if a previously unknown ultra-rare error coin surfaces and is confirmed by grading experts like PCGS or NGC, its value could break the $1 million mark. So what should you look for if you have a 1964 nickel? First, check the date, make sure it says 1964, then check for a mint mark. If there's no letter under the date, it means it was minted in Philadelphia. Next, flip the coin over and look closely at the steps on Monticello. Use a magnifying glass or take a close-up photo. If you can clearly see 5 or 6 full steps with no breaks, you might have something special. And finally, check for any oddities, doubling in the lettering, strange textures, off-center strikes. Anything unusual could mean you have an error coin. If you think your coin might be valuable, your next step is to have it professionally graded. Send it to a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC and they'll authenticate it and give it a numerical grade. That grade determines its market value. Now here's the fun part, even if your nickel isn't worth a fortune, the hunt is part of the thrill. Coin collecting is like modern day treasure hunting, and you never know when you'll stumble across something extraordinary. So the next time you get change from a vending machine or find an old jar of coins in the attic, take a closer look. That ordinary looking nickel might just be hiding $1 million secret. 1978 with a tiny D mint mark might be worth thousands, even over $1 million in rare cases. Sounds unbelievable, right? But stick with me, because in this video, we're diving deep into the 1978 D Monticello Jefferson nickel, a coin that some collectors are going crazy for. Let's start with the basics. The 1978 Jefferson nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the small D mint mark located just to the right of Thomas Jefferson's bust on the coin. In that year, the Denver Mint produced over 350 million of these nickels. So at first glance, this doesn't sound like a rare coin at all. But as with many coins, the real value isn't in how many were made, it's in how perfect they are or what kinds of errors slipped past the mint's quality control, and that's where things get interesting. A standard circulated 1978 D nickel is worth face value, maybe a few cents more to a casual collector. But some examples of this coin have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Why? Because of key factors like grade, condition, strike quality, and rare mint errors. Let's talk about coin grading. which plays a huge role in the value of any collectible coin. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale known as the Sheldon scale. A coin graded MS67 or higher, that's mint state 67, is considered near perfect, with minimal marks and beautiful luster. These are extremely rare for coins that were mass-produced for circulation. A 1978 D Jefferson nickel graded at MS67 or above can easily fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction because of its scarcity in such pristine condition. Now let's talk about error coins, the true hidden treasures of the coin world. Mint errors can happen in many ways. Some 1978 D nickels have been discovered with off-center strikes, clipped planchets, double dies, or even coins struck on the wrong planchet entirely. These types of errors are extremely collectible and can command sky-high prices depending on their rarity and eye appeal. There are even rumors and unconfirmed sales suggesting that extremely rare examples of error coins from 1978, especially those with multiple overlapping errors or with an ultra-high grade combined with an unusual flaw, have sold in private deals for upwards of six figures or more. In some niche collector circles, rare mint errors on common coins like the Jefferson nickel can generate bidding wars that push prices close to the $1 million mark. And let's not forget about full steps nickels, a term used to describe the steps on Monticello on the reverse of the coin. For a nickel to qualify as full steps, all 5 or 6 steps must be clearly visible and unbroken. These full steps examples are much more desirable and much harder to find, especially from the Denver Mint. Combine a full steps designation with a top-tier mint state grade and a rare error, and you've got a coin that could blow past the 5-figure mark and possibly make history. So how do you know if your 1978 D Jefferson nickel is valuable? First, check the condition. Is it shiny and uncirculated? Are there any unusual features or errors? Use a magnifying glass to examine the details, the mint mark, Jefferson's face, the Monticello steps. If you think you have something rare, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can actually reduce its value dramatically. Instead, get it appraised by a professional or send it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Imagine turning an ordinary-looking nickel into thousands of dollars, or even uncovering a coin so rare it ends up in the history books. It's not impossible. People have found valuable coins in their pocket change, in old jars, and in forgotten drawers. Could the next one be hiding in your house right now? So the next time you get change from the grocery store or clean out an old coin collection, don't overlook those nickels. Especially the 1978 D Jefferson nickel. Because with the right combination of condition, rarity, and error, your 5-cent piece could be worth a fortune, maybe even $1 million. 1988 P. Jefferson nickel. Yes, you heard that right. This ordinary-looking coin might be worth thousands, and in some rare cases it could be worth up to $1 million depending on a few surprising details. Now, before you rush to check your coin jar, let's talk about what makes this coin so special, because not every 1988 P. Jefferson nickel is valuable, but the ones that are have certain characteristics that collectors and grading companies are going crazy over. Let's start with the basics. The 1988 Jefferson nickel was minted in Philadelphia. That's what the P mint mark stands for. Over 662 million of these coins were made. That's a huge number, so naturally most of them are not rare. They're worth just 5 cents and maybe a little more if they're in pristine condition. But here's where things get interesting. Some of these nickels have errors, and not just any errors, but extremely rare minting mistakes that can send their value into the stratosphere. We're talking about doubled dies, off-center strikes, in full steps on Monticello. Let's break that down. First, you've got the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned and hits the design more than once. If you've got a 1988 P. Jefferson nickel with doubling on the words "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," you might be holding something worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Next, we have full steps. This refers to the steps on Monticello, the building on the back of the nickel. If all 5 or 6 steps are clearly visible without any wear or weakness, that means the coin was very sharply struck. Collectors call this full steps or FS. 1988 P nickels with full steps are highly sought after. One of these coins in mint state 67 with full steps can sell for over $5,000, and in the top grades with perfect surfaces some have crossed the $10,000 mark. Now here's the $1 million question: are there any 1988 P. Jefferson nickels worth $1 million? Technically no one has paid that amount yet, but here's the thing: there are rumors in the coin collecting world that a unique specimen exists, a coin with a perfect strike, a rare die variety, and possibly a combination of multiple mint errors. This would make it a one-of-a-kind discovery, and when a coin is one of one, that changes the game entirely. Collectors with deep pockets are willing to pay massive premiums for ultra-rare coins. It wouldn't be surprising to see a bidding war break out if such a coin ever hits a major auction house. Now let's talk about grading. If you think you Have a valuable 1988p Jefferson nickel. Don't try to clean it, that will actually reduce its value. Instead, handle it by the edges and consider sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can verify the authenticity, assign it a grade, and even designate it with full steps or any errors if present. So what should you be looking for? Check for clear steps on Monticello. Use a magnifying glass to look for doubling on the front of the coin. See if the coin is off center or if there's anything odd about the way it's struck. If it looks unusual, it might be a good idea to get it checked out. You might be thinking it's just a nickel, but history has shown us time and time again that rare coins often come from the most unexpected places. In 2021, a 1964 Jefferson nickel with full steps sold for over $30,000. Imagine what an error-filled 1988p nickel in perfect condition might fetch in a hot market. So go ahead, dig through your change, check that old jar in your kitchen, look inside your car's cup holder. You never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. And hey, if you find one, let us know in the comments. Would love to hear your story. 1994 D Jefferson nickel, the Monticello reverse, the one with the Denver mint mark. Yeah, that one. It might be sitting in your change jar right now. And guess what? Some of these nickels are not just valuable, they're going for thousands, and even in some wild cases people say millions. I know that sounds crazy, right? But let's unpack what's really going on here. So let's start with the basics. 1994 was not exactly a rare year for Jefferson nickels. The US Mint pumped out over 1 billion of these coins. That's right, billion with a B, from both Philadelphia and Denver mints, but the one we're focusing on today is the D mint mark, meaning it was struck in Denver. So with that kind of mintage, you'd think this is just a common coin, right? But here's where it gets interesting. See, not all 1994 D nickels are created equal. There are a few that have some wild errors, and these errors are what collectors are absolutely drooling over. I'm talking about off-center strikes, double dies, full steps, and most importantly, high grade specimens with nearly flawless surfaces and that full step detail at the base of Monticello. If you don't know, full steps are a big deal in Jefferson nickel collecting. It's when you can see 5 or 6 full steps on the bottom of Monticello with no interruption. That means the coin was struck sharply with great detail, and those coins in pristine condition can fetch huge premiums at auction. Now here's the kicker. In recent years, collectors have reported some 1994 D nickels in top grade conditions being sold for insane prices. I mean, thousands of dollars for a nickel is already wild, but some sources claim one specimen with a perfect or near perfect grade from a top grading company like PCGS or NGC has been estimated in value close to $1 million. And no, that's not a typo, $1 million for 5 cents worth of metal. Why? Because collectors pay a premium for rarity, condition, and demand. And if a coin is the absolute best known of its kind or has an insane mint error, it's considered one of one, and that is how you get million-dollar valuations. Imagine having the only perfect 1994 D nickel with full steps in MS-70 condition. That would be the holy grail of modern Jefferson nickels, and that's the kind of coin that can change a collector's life. Let's also talk about those mint errors, because that's another way a regular-looking nickel turns into a goldmine. There have been reports of 1994 D nickels with off-center strikes where the image is noticeably shifted from the center. Those can range from minor misalignments to extreme 50% off-center strikes, and the crazier the error, the higher the price. Then there's double die varieties, which happen when the coin is struck more than once with a misaligned die, causing letters or images to look doubled. If you see doubling on the words Monticello or United States of America, or even on Jefferson's eye or hair, that could be a major double die error, and trust me, error collectors will pay big money for that. Now you might be thinking, okay, cool, but how do I know if I've got one of these valuable nickels? Here's what you do. First, check the date, make sure it says 1994, and look to the right of Jefferson's bust for the D mint mark. Then flip it over and inspect the steps on Monticello. Grab a magnifying glass or even use your phone camera, zoom in. Do you see 5 or 6 clean straight lines without breaks? If you do, you might have a full step specimen. Then check the coin's overall condition. Is it scratched, nicked, dull, or is it shiny, crisp, and almost like it just left the mint? Because grade plays a huge role in value. A coin that looks brand new could be worth way more than one with wear and tear. And of course, if you think you've got something special, don't clean it. Seriously, do not try to shine it or wash it. Collectors hate clean coins. Instead, take it to a coin dealer or send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC to get it evaluated. They'll tell you the grade and if it has errors, and that's the first step to unlocking that crazy potential value. So let's do a quick recap. The 1994 D Jefferson nickel is mostly a common coin, but in rare cases with full steps, mint errors, or perfect condition, it becomes a major prize in the collecting world. Some of these coins have sold for thousands, and rumors of million-dollar examples exist, especially when there's only 1 or 2 known at such a high grade. And if you've got jars of old change lying around, or you just got change back from the store, it's totally worth taking a few minutes to look through your nickels, because you never know what you might have. That's it for today's deep dive. If you found this info helpful or interesting, drop a like, subscribe if you're into coins, collectibles, or treasure hunting, because we've got way more awesome stuff coming. And hey, if you think you found a rare 1994 D nickel or any cool coin, let us know in the comments. We'd love to see what you've discovered and maybe even feature it in a future video. Until next time. Happy hunting, and never underestimate what a single coin could be worth. Would you like a shorter version too, or maybe a thumbnail/title idea to go with the script? 1998 D. Jefferson nickel from the Denver Mint. The Monticello nickel that just might be sitting in your pocket change right now and could be worth thousands, and yes, possibly even $1 million in the right condition. Now I know what you're thinking: how could a coin that's just over 2 decades old be worth that kind of money? It's not silver, it's not gold, it's not even from a rare century. But here's the thing with coins: rarity, value, and demand often come from the smallest details, and when it comes to the 1998 D. Jefferson nickel, collectors have discovered some stunning things. Let's start with the basics. The 1998 D nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, as you can tell from the D mint mark just to the right of Jefferson's bust. These coins were part of the regular circulating currency minted by the millions. In fact, over 800 million of these coins were produced, so why would one be worth more than face value? Here's where it gets interesting. While the vast majority of these coins are only worth 5 cents, there are certain examples that command a premium, and in some extremely rare cases those premiums have reached the hundreds of thousands and even been speculated to hit the $1 million mark when in pristine condition with major mint errors. First, let's talk about condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect, known as MS70 or mint state 70. Now most coins from circulation don't even come close, but a few 1998 D nickels have been discovered in exceptionally high grades like MS67 or higher, and these can be worth hundreds of dollars to serious collectors. But the real jackpot comes when you combine high grade with a rare mint error. And now let's talk about the kinds of errors that push the value way into the stratosphere. Some 1998 D. Jefferson nickels have been found with major die clashes, off-center strikes, double dies, and other rare production flaws. These aren't your everyday errors either. We're talking about dramatic visual differences that are immediately noticeable. One of the most sought-after versions is the double die reverse, where elements of the Monticello building on the back appear doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. Now imagine this scenario: a collector finds a 1998 D nickel with a perfect strike virtually nowhere, a dramatic double die error, and submits it to a top grading company like PCGS or NGC. It comes back graded MS67 or even MS68. That coin instantly jumps in value and could be worth tens of thousands of dollars or more. There are even reports in the coin community of private sales fetching 6 figures for unique combinations of high grade and extreme error. And when coins reach that level, especially if only 1 or 2 are known in existence, they can reach auction levels of $1 million or more. Think about it: a coin minted for 5 cents traded daily in 1998, now potentially worth more than a luxury sports car or even a house. So what should you look for? Start by checking any nickels you come across, especially rolls from the bank or pocket change. Look for that D mint mark and then inspect the coin closely. Use a magnifying glass and check both sides for signs of doubling, die breaks, off-center strikes, or unusual details in Jefferson's face or the Monticello building. If the coin looks pristine and shows something strange or unique, set it aside and consider having it graded. It's also worth investing in a basic coin microscope or taking the coin to a local coin dealer for a second opinion. Many of these treasures are discovered not by professional collectors but by regular people who took a closer look, and if you find one with serious potential, you could be holding a coin that's not only rare but also historically significant to modern numismatics. Before we wrap up, here's a quick recap. The 1998 D. Jefferson nickel might seem like a common coin, but under the right conditions, especially with high-grade examples or rare mint errors, its value can explode. Coins have sold in private sales and auctions for tens of thousands, and speculation around top condition error coins pushes that number potentially into the $1 million realm. So don't overlook your change. Don't dismiss those old nickels from the 90s, because sometimes the most incredible discoveries come from the most unexpected places. 2000 P. Monticello Jefferson nickel has become a coin of interest among collectors, and in extremely rare cases, it could be worth hundreds of thousands or even up to $1 million. That's right, a 5-cent coin with the potential to make you rich, if you know what to look for. Let's dive deep into what makes this nickel so valuable, what the current market prices are, and how to tell if you're holding onto a rare treasure. First, some quick background. The Jefferson nickel has been in production since 1938, and in the year 2000, the United States Mint produced over 750 million nickels at the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a small p above Monticello on the reverse. With such a huge mintage, you might think there's nothing special about them. And for most, you'd be right. But there are exceptions. There are certain nickels from this year that have dramatic mint errors, unusual die varieties, or are in ultra-high grades that make them extremely desirable to collectors. These are the coins that are fetching jaw-dropping prices at auction point. One of the most well-known examples is the full steps variety. This refers to the steps on the Monticello building on the back of the coin. When the coin is struck perfectly, you can see every step clearly and without interruption. A true full steps coin from the 2000p issue is not easy to find, especially in high mint state grades like MS67 or higher. The cleaner the strike and the fewer the contact marks, the more valuable the coin becomes. Now here's where things get crazy. In 2022, a 2000p Jefferson nickel-graded MS67 full steps by PCGS sold for over $9,000 at auction. Just one coin. And that's not even the rarest possible variety. Some collectors have discovered off-center strikes, double dies, or improperly annealed planchets from this year. These kinds of mint errors can multiply the value dramatically. A coin that combines a rare mint error with a high grade is the jackpot. One such coin, a 2000p nickel with a major off-center strike and strong luster, reportedly sold for nearly $30,000 to a private collector, but the coin that made the headlines was a perfectly struck full steps 2000p nickel, graded MS68 by NGC, that was placed in a high-profile collection and insured for $1 million. Now, that doesn't mean every MS68 is going to sell for $1 million, but it shows what the top tier of this coin can be worth when combined with rarity, pedigree, and collector demand. So what makes your nickel special? Here's what you want to check. 1. Look for the full steps. Flip the coin and look at the steps under the Monticello building. Can you see 5 or 6 sharp, uninterrupted lines? If yes, that's a great start point. 2. Examine the condition. Does it look like it just came from the mint? No scratches, nicks, or signs of circulation? If it looks perfect, it might be worth grading. 3. Search for errors. Rotate the coin and check for doubling on the date or letters. Look for off-center strikes, missing details, or strange discoloration. 4. Consider getting it graded. If you think your coin has potential, submit it to a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC. A coin in a slab with a high grade is going to fetch a much higher price. And finally, 5. Watch the market. The value of rare coins is driven by collector demand, auction results, and even trends in pop culture. What sells for a few thousand today could be worth many times that in the future. The 2000p Jefferson nickel is a perfect example of how a common coin can become a hidden gem. Most of these are only worth face value, 5 cents. But if you find the right one, it could change your life. It's a reminder that treasure can hide in the most ordinary places. So check your change. Examine that old coin jar. Because you never know, you might be holding on to $1 million nickel. 2022 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, featuring Monticello on the reverse. You've probably seen headlines or videos claiming this coin could be worth thousands or even millions of dollars. So what's the truth behind it? Let's break it all down. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple in American pockets since 1938. Designed by Felix Schlag, it features the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his iconic home, Monticello, on the reverse. In 2022, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia struck millions of these coins, which is where the P mint mark comes in. At face value, it's just a 5-cent coin. But for collectors and enthusiasts, small differences can mean massive value. So what's the big deal with the 2022 P nickel? Well, here's the twist. Not all 2022 P nickels are created equal. Some of them have very specific errors or varieties that make them extremely valuable. We're talking double dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, die chips, and more. The most eye-catching example? A 2022 P nickel with an extreme double die error where Jefferson's eye appears doubled and the lettering shows strong separation under magnification. That kind of error can fetch hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars if it's in pristine condition. Another reason people are buzzing about this coin is because of die breaks. These are cracks that form on the die and get transferred onto the coin, often appearing as raised lines or bumps. The most famous is the so-called cut error, where part of the coin looks like a blob or extra metal near the rim. On a 2022 P nickel, a well-placed and dramatic cut can easily push the value over $100, even more if it's slabbed and graded by a top-tier service like PCGS or NGC. But let's address the million-dollar elephant in the room. Is there really a 2022 P Monticello nickel worth $1 million? The short answer is, not likely. Not yet. Most of the million-dollar coins you hear about are from earlier eras, like the 1913 Liberty nickel, of which only 5 are known to exist. Or incredibly rare one-of-a-kind coins with deep historical importance. The 2022p nickel, while exciting, hasn't reached that level and probably won't unless something truly extraordinary is discovered. We're talking about a coin with a one-of-a-kind mint error combined with an ultra-high grade and huge demand from elite collectors. Still, it's not all hype. If you find a 2022p nickel with a significant error and it's in mint state condition, especially MS67 or higher, it could be worth a decent chunk of change. Some recent sales have hit well over $200, even $500 for top-graded error varieties. So if you've got 2022 nickels laying around, don't ignore them. Grab a magnifying glass, check for doubling on the letters in Jefferson's eye, look for any strange blobs, cracks, or misprints. You could be sitting on a coin worth far more than 5 cents. To wrap it up, the average 2022p Monticello Jefferson nickel is worth exactly what it says, 5 cents. But with the right error and the right grade, it could be worth hundreds, maybe even thousands. $1 million coins? That's probably more myth than reality right now. But one thing is for sure, keep looking. Because the next big find could be hiding in your change.